Okay. We don't have the thing because it's
The
downstairs.
clipper.
And I haven't been downstairs to go and get it. But welcome to episode 9. Is that correct?
I think so.
Think so. We do have another guest today. We have Ali.
Hi everyone. I'm more energetic than that normally. I thought I'd just give a very subtle hi.
I was thinking before we started this, between my accent and Ali's accent, we're probably going to need subtitles for people.
I'll slow down a little bit. I'll be intentionally slow.
Fine. Get my microphone a bit closer. So yeah, today's episode, bit of a winged random episode. We don't have a particular theme. We're going to do a bit of a Q&A, aren't we, Amy? So we're
Yeah.
going to go down the road of people not comparing themselves to others, maybe a little bit around not to compare, stay in your own lane, and then kind of just see where we end up.
That's good.
I mean, most people will know you, Ali, but do you want to start with a bit of an introduction
Okay.
about yourself?
Yeah, okay. So been a coach for just over 12 years now. I've got a huge passion for training. That's what I really go on about and being perfectly honest. Like I coach coaches, I educate coaches on training, and that's just a passion of mine. I'm not going to call myself an expert. It's just something I'm very, very as I said, passionate about and love. I've got a little dog who's a pain in the arse. That's why I'm a little bit late for the podcast because
Bobby.
yeah, because a half an hour walk took me over an hour because we have to stop every time he pulls and he likes to pull. So yeah, like I'm a very open-minded human being. I love conversations. I love deep conversations. And that's probably one of the reasons why I love coaching because most people want to change for more than just aesthetic reasons. There's normally a deeper reason for that. And when you can help people understand that, help people get to that position, it's quite rewarding and fulfilling.
Yeah, and I know from my experience, whenever I see you, we always end up having some sort of deep and meaningful conversation about everything. So
Hmm.
I just thought you were the perfect person to have on, really.
Ah, thank you. That's a
Probably
compliment.
about dogs.
And yeah, we went for a dog walk.
Of course. Like we
I
can't beat a
love
dog walk.
part of the introduction now, Ali is, and I'm a dog owner.
Yeah, like that's like it's he is the I think with the beauty like this is like getting very deep. I think the beauty about dogs is just like they're always happy. Like every single time we see they're always happy. You leave them for 5 minutes, they're always happy and it puts life in perspective
Yeah.
kind of thing because it's like why can't we just be like that?
And for me, dogs teach you unconditional love.
Yeah.
My dog has done so many crazy things that if a human did, I'd be like,
Yeah,
you need looking up. But
yeah,
just unconditional love, you love them no matter what, and the same them to you.
yeah,
So
yeah,
loyal.
yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
crazy dog woman, so what can I say?
The dogs match your personality.
Yeah, I feel Labrador energy, as we always say. That's kind of what I'm like anyway.
I hope
Um,
your shits don't smell as much as Ella's did that walk. That was horrendous.
fairness, she had eaten 7 dental sticks by accident the day before.
It's not by
And
accident. It was definitely on purpose. Like the dog's done it on purpose.
I know it's because I left her. I only went to Tesco. But this might be too much information, but I was really hoping because I knew it was coming, I knew it was going to happen, and I'd organised the dog walk with you and Charlotte this lovely afternoon. And as soon as I left the house, I was like, please, just when this happens, because the dental sticks were mint. I was just hoping that would filter through with it, but it just didn't. And Ali and Charlotte were way behind us, like, no, that's awful. That's
Yeah,
your
that's unconditional love though, the fact you could still love an animal after doing that.
and attempted to pick it up and everything.
Yeah, I'd have just left that.
Let's swiftly moving on from Ella's
Anyway,
embarrassment. So before we started, we were having a little bit of a chat, and you said you've been thinking about quite a big question this week, so maybe that's a good place to
Oh,
start.
it's been over a week, but it's like it's my one question. So I just sometimes like just get caught me or I see a reel or something like that, you know, like someone asking you a question, then it just leads on to other questions. So I asked it to one of my clients, Jake, and I asked it to Callum actually in regards like what's the point? Like what's the point what we do? For example, like so I obviously love what I do because I love coaching, but I must love it so much because it's stressful, I have to pay tax and so for you to keep doing something, there must be a reason why you keep doing it. So that was my question, guys. Like, what's the point? And like, why do we do what we do, etc. And everyone's answer is going to be individual. But it's just a pondering thought. I asked Jake, and like Jake's only, I think Jake's like 22, 23, and he's mature for his age, don't get me wrong, but it fucked his head up.
Oh no. You asked Cal as well, and he's quite a deep
Oh,
thinker.
he's, yeah,
So
like we were with each other on Saturday, it was, and like it's nice being back with Cal because we were talking actually this morning, like this is going to sound really, really like, I'm going to say gay, but everyone knows when we want to say gay, it's like we just make each other really like calm and present. Because it's
yeah.
like it's very, very hard to be present nowadays. Like it's TikTok world, as you said before, ADHD. I hear the statistic and goes like attention span for humans now is 7 seconds or something like that. A goldfish is 8. Like that's
I,
it's
I
fucking
mean,
quite bad.
I feel that, to be
Do you know what I
honest. I
mean?
feel
So we live in a very, very short attention span. But when I'm chilling with Callum, because we don't just talk about bodybuilding, I think this is one of the things
no.
like people need to understand. Is like, look, bodybuilding it's a big foundation of my life. I love it. I love training. I love sticking to lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. But you've got to have more to yourself than just bodybuilding, in my opinion. Otherwise, what happens when bodybuilding's not there, or what happens when you can't train for a while, etc. It's like, what are you going to do with yourself? But if you've got other interests and other passions, like I love like pyramids and things like that. Like pyramids freak me out. Like I can't get my head around them because like I don't know how they're made. Nobody knows how they're made and all this kind of shit. So when you've got other interests and other hobbies, it's like there's more to it, and then you really appreciate bodybuilding a lot more because like bodybuilding's got its own time in your week. Then you've got other hobbies, and then when you actually get to do it, you enjoy it.
Yeah.
So what's
Oh.
yours? So what's your have you thought about like what's the reason? Why what's your why? What's the
Well,
point?
I genuinely believe that my why in general is to be able to help people. And that's just a way I've always felt. I live my life by can I leave that person better than when I met them?
Hmm.
It doesn't matter how long they're in my life for. Could be somebody I sit with for an hour, it could be somebody who is in my life for the long haul. But I like to be able to help people. So as long as I'm doing something that I know one will benefit me, but also other people, then that's what I feel passionate about.
Cool. What about you, Kels?
Well, what was your actual answer in
Okay,
the
so
question?
I've got my own little one, but I'm gonna say like what I come to the conclusion of today when I'm speaking to Jake. It's like everyone's life has an impact on someone else's life. Okay, so for example, like this conversation, people are going to take it in one way or another way. Like everyone can be looked at as a positive and negative how they enter people's lives. So for example, even if you've been in a friendship and it ended quite sour, did that sourness then propel you to become someone different than who you are and who you're proud of? Because you can act upon it in two ways, can't you? You can either make it turn you one way or the other. So every single human being will have an impact on on every human being that entered their life, and then that person would then propel them one way or the other.
Yeah.
That's also like the point, if that makes sense. Like we have massive impacts on people, good or bad. It's how the other person perceives that good or bad.
Mm.
So you're saying that your point is to kind of make an impact on other people in
Yeah,
the best possible way.
yeah, like I love the idea of just challenging people. I love the idea of challenging people's thoughts because we all get so caught up with what we think is right, but that might not be, and we sometimes don't even necessarily believe it. So for example, let's use like the child scenario. Like we're all told, like have a child, have a house, and all this kind of thing. But say if it's not right for you as an individual, like for me right now, that's not the way. That's probably the worst idea is to give me a child. I can't even look after a fucking puppy. Never mind a child. So, but for my sister, it hits her world. Like it's everything about it, and she absolutely adores being a mother. I couldn't think of anything worse than being a father right now. Don't get me wrong, if the responsibility got put on me, I would do it. But if you asked me what I want, it wouldn't be that. But yeah, I like to challenge people's views.
Yeah. And I think just touching on that as well from a woman's perspective. I mean, I wanted a baby from being 3 year old, didn't know how they were made, just had this real maternal instinct, and just all I used to say to my mum, I want a baby, I want a baby, I want a baby. As I got older and my life changed, and I found out who I was and the things that I loved and got a dog, my view on that very much changed. And I can remember one day just saying, I just don't think that's for me. But when you then tell people that, people go one of two ways. Either people are like yourself and think, great, that you are going with what you feel is right for you rather than what society or other people want you to do. And then there's other people who very much are still in that view of you're a woman, you should have a child.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you can very much see that when you speak to people, or people say, oh, it's just a phase, or "Oh, it's just because you're single." Could it not just be because I'm happy with how my life is, and actually that doesn't feel like that's a good fit for me, whether that's right now or whether that's in the future. So I do like the fact that you like to challenge people's views on that,
Because,
really.
but the issue with people who say in the second opinion where you have to do
Mm,
this, it's like they've never been exposed to other things. Like they've never been exposed to other reasons why. And again, there's loads of people who just follow the mold. And again, look, my sister's sort of quote unquote following the mold, but it makes her happy, and that's
yeah.
okay. But what I don't really like is when people expect other people to believe in what they believe, and
Mm,
the only thing they believe is correct, because that's not necessarily true for everybody.
no.
Like, don't get me wrong, there's right and wrong about the world. There's like murder's not okay. Okay, like that's not something we should be doing, unless the person's a really, really bad person and they deserve it. Okay, but
Yeah, there's still I was going to say there's still a caveat in there somewhere
oh,
though. It says,
yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it? Because say for example, if anyone touched my sister, like no, I don't like when people go, I would kill them because you've got no idea
yeah,
what you do. Do you know what I mean? Like no one's been put in
yeah.
that situation where it's like they think they can kill someone. I don't know
Mm.
what I could do. If I got put into a war, I'd like to think I'd step up, but I could shit my pants. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was going to say about the caveat with there is right and wrong. But actually, if
Yeah.
you look at people who are in the forces, they are trained to be able to
hmm
do that.
So I think it's just very naive and very small-minded when people believe one system's the only way. And as I said, I don't like people pushing their beliefs onto people if that person doesn't want to believe in the same way as them. And that could be
Mm,
anything. That could be people telling people they need to eat a certain way. That could be people saying they need to train a certain way. It could be people saying you need to live this lifestyle. You need to buy a house. You need to have a kid. It's like, says who?
yeah, exactly.
You kind of answered what my answer would be in terms of like, what's the point?
Yeah, go
It's
on.
so individualized. Like, I would say the point is depending on what your goals are and what brings you happiness, because the point is to live a fulfilling life. I think that is filled with things that bring you happiness, that make you feel good. That's going to be completely different to what someone else might feel good
Yeah.
doing. Like I feel good on prep, sure no one
Yeah, yeah,
particularly
yeah.
like, generally loves that. Everybody's just so different. So I think finding what brings you happiness is like the most important point. And obviously then you were talking about taxes and making money. You have to at least kind of have a job in life. And the goal I would say is to find a job that you also enjoy, that brings you happiness. So that means that then you're spending your time doing stuff that you do still enjoy and
Yeah.
it's not too like difficult and you don't
Yeah.
like doing it because that would just be a bit rubbish. But yeah, I know everybody's going to pay tax. Like you pay tax 3, 4, 5 times over. You pay it
hmm
again on things that have already been taxed. It's an absolute joke.
I've got
But
a question for you.
unfortunately, that is the little trap that we're kind of stuck in.
Do you think everyone lives a fulfilled life?
No.
No, I don't think everybody
No,
even
no, that was just a question.
understands.
That wasn't like me. That was just like, how many people do you actually think don't live a fulfilled life?
I think a
So,
lot of
No.
people get stuck
yeah.
in a trap, living a life that they're not particularly happy with, but they don't take actionable steps to perhaps get themselves out of it.
I think people get stuck in their comfort zones or don't think they're capable of more or stress about the little things as well. For me, you're only here once, you actually only here a short amount of time. Actually, you want to be living every day if you can from that good place and being happy about the little things that all then build up to the big things. So, yeah, I don't think people not most people, but I don't think a lot of people live as fulfilled a life they could.
Have you
That would
heard
be my
Alex Moses saying, where it
mm,
goes in 3 generations, no one's going to remember you?
yeah, yeah.
And
Especially
there's
with
And then
very
your
there's
kids.
very few people.
I really like him actually. His podcast's very good.
It's what it is. It's very straight to the point, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
very straight to the point. This is what you do. This is how you can do things. He doesn't give a fuck about what people think. He just says his own opinion, and no, there might be better ways to do things, but he has found his own way. And I do appreciate that way of talking. I
yeah,
like Mel Robbins as well. I'm quite a big fan of Mel Robbins.
yeah.
In regards, she's
Listening to
still
her
straight to the point.
today
Yeah,
already.
I love the fact. I just love people when they're straight to the point. I
Yeah.
don't like wishy-washy, and that seems the way the world is right now.
Her book's really taken off at the minute, the Let Them theory, which I think is great. I absolutely love it. Let them. Like, if people want to behave a certain way, treat you a certain way, someone doesn't want to reply to you, someone doesn't want to get to know you, whatever that may be, let them. Someone
Hmm.
wants to cut you up in traffic, let them. What can you control? Because that's what she says, doesn't she? Let them is the starting point, then let me. So let me react in a positive way, or let me control what I can control about myself. It's not about that person's actions, it's about the effect that has on you. Because
Hmm.
you can carry that around all day, you can be stressed about it all day, or you can let it go.
The
And
hardest thing to
actually,
do though.
oh, of course it is. Of
Hmm.
course it is.
That's like the analogy you gave, I think, Amy, on the last podcast, like
Mhm.
picking up your sticks and putting them in your backpack, or either
Yeah.
leaving them on the
And
floor and deciding, no, I don't want to pick that up today.
yeah, so I was trying to think of, because for me, I'm quite a visual person. So if something is going on for me, if I can visualize a way to get myself kind of through that. So say, for example, something happens, somebody says something that maybe makes me feel a particular way that I'm not quite happy about. I then think, okay, visualize having my backpack,
Hmm.
stones, okay, is this worth my time? Like, am I going to pick this up and carry this around all day with us so that it gets heavy? And then say something else happens. Okay, well, am I going to pick that up? If you pick up all those little things, that backpack's going to get pretty heavy over the day. So actually, I just see myself stepping over it. Okay, I'm stepping over this. I'm not. That doesn't need my time. It doesn't need me attention, and I don't need to hold on to that.
Yeah,
What do
yeah,
I
I
know to
like
be
it.
true?
I
So
think
that's what I do.
one of my favorite things I got taught by my therapist is no one else's opinion is your business.
No. The only opinion that matters really is the one you have of yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And if you're not happy about it, change it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like and another one who was it? I'm a big fan of Jimmy Carr because Jimmy Carr's quite philosophical. Like everyone thinks he's just a comedian, but he's quite deep and philosophical. And he was on can't remember what podcast he was on, but he said you only find out who you really are when there's nobody else around.
Yeah. And people try to fill that. I think that's a big thing for me. Not a lot of people can sit on their own with no distraction. So no music, no nothing, and actually sit there. People try to fill those spaces because not everybody wants to be in their own head. But I think you need to then make that a nice place to be. You spend a lot of time in your head, it needs to be a nice place to be.
Yeah, I don't like
Oh,
being my own head.
why?
Get bored. Sounds silly. Like this is something I speak about with my therapist. So one of the reasons why I started going to therapy was struggling to turn off.
Yeah.
Like obviously when you run your own business, it's like it's hard to do that anyway because there's always something to do. No matter what time of day it is. We don't have a specific like 9 to 5, but you've got to treat it like a job to some degree. The most successful people do treat it like a job. But I've always been like that. I've always been my mum's a worrier, my mum's an overthinker. So I probably inherited some of the traits from her. Um, but yeah, that was one of the reasons why I started going to therapy and just get bored.
Yeah.
Like it's not that
And
interesting in my own head.
see, but actually, when I sit and talk to you, you are such an interesting person, and the way you think about things is very different and very
Mm.
deep, really. You know, you're not a surface level person, so that actually really surprises me about you.
As I say, like I think this is where it gets like really, really like this way it becomes very, very personal, doesn't it? In regards to, like how people think. It's like I feel like it, no, just sitting there, and don't get me wrong, the busier I get, the more I do just like quiet. But
Mm,
like I could be doing something better with my time.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? I could be having a conversation with someone, I could be watching something that could be interesting. It's like just sitting there and quiet. Like I hate the idea of going to a spa. Well, actually, tell like I love the idea of going to a spa. The reality of me going to a spa, I'm a nightmare. Like it's sauna, steam room, go in the pool. It's like I fucking want to go home now. Like I've been to Shrigley Hall where now I think you two both been to Shrigley Hall. I've been there many times, right? Once I'm in that outdoor pool, I've looked over the golf course for a little bit. I want to fuck off home. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm so bored. But I also understand there's a negative to wanting to be 100% switched on all the time. And I
yeah,
think it's just finding your own thing. So like for me right now,
it
it's
is.
walking a dog. It's like it's interesting because he's still being a little shit sometimes. So
Mm,
I have to still be aware, but there's nothing better for me just seeing a dog happy.
yeah,
So that's my
and
own little sort of switch
it,
off.
it's interesting when you say about Shrigley Hall, right? Because Shrigley Hall was the first time that I ever managed, and it wasn't the first time I'd been, but when I first managed to get myself in that place where I wasn't thinking.
Mhm.
because I think all of the time, and one of the most difficult things for me has been learning how to, when I need to, switch that off so that I'm not thinking. And that was the first place I had my eyes closed. I was in the outdoor pool, and I was just, I suppose, meditating really, and my mind just went blank. Only very briefly, but I was like, oh wow, that's amazing to be able to do that. So, but again, I think that's sitting in silence, even if it's just for 5 minutes. I try to spend a little bit of time just to get a clear head, really, and see if there is anything that I need to work through. But I suppose for you, you like to journal as well, don't you? So
Yeah,
that's
I
probably,
haven't done it for a while, if I'm being honest with you. I think journaling comes in drips and drops. It's like when you need it,
mm,
you can do it, where you don't have to do it every day. Because I think sometimes people think they need to journal every day and they're sitting there
yeah.
and they're thinking of things to write. It's
Mm.
like, but sometimes there's just nothing to write. Like, Cal asked me a question, do you think everyone should go to therapy? And Emily on the weekend, Emily Wilkinson, who runs AW, she said things only, she said about like, it's only a problem when it becomes a problem. And she was speaking about regards like nutrition and health and etc. And I agree with that to some degree. I think sometimes trying to find problems with yourself, which if you've got nothing wrong with yourself, but you go to therapy, it's like you're trying to find something. I don't think that's actually beneficial. No, I mean, it's like you're trying to, like, of course, we've all got shit. Like, our parents have all fucked us up. Like, as much as my mum and dad were amazing, but my mum and dad have still put negative traits within me when I've grown up because no parent's perfect. Like, my sister and Sam will fuck Ari up in some way, shape, or form. But I mean, it's like, but I've had a very privileged upbringing. But as I say, like, I don't, and that's what I mean about journaling. Sometimes I think you're trying to find things you need to improve or trying to find things. But if your life's sound, just crack on with your day.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
do. I mean, I do journal every morning. That works for me. So, like you
Sound.
say again, everything is individual, isn't it?
I find journaling's quite difficult. I'll sit there and sometimes, like you said, Ali, I'll be like trying to think of something to write.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah, yeah.
nothing coming, and I don't really mind sitting in my own head. But I don't know if you can relate to this. The problem that I have if I'm sat still is I feel like I need to be doing something productive all the time, and
hmm
that's why I have an issue if I'm like not doing something. I'd be more concerned thinking, well, I could be actually doing something now.
I
That's why.
think I think the thing I've done is I'll stop official work by 7:30, 7 o'clock. I might reply back to someone on WhatsApp, but like anything to do with the computer, unless it's a consultation call or a podcast or something like that, I'll stop all work by 7 o'clock and then I make sure I go downstairs. So if anything I'm doing, it's downstairs on my phone. So like I leave because the beauty about having the dog is when it gets me out the house. Do you know what I mean? Like 'cause I could stay in this office very, very easily. It's got everything I need. Sunlight, like
It is a
electricity.
lovely
Do
quiet
you know
room.
what I mean? Yeah, I've actually had to close it. But I've got a Bondi tree. It's like I'm living the dream in this thing. I've got like a little, I can't remember what they're called. What are they called? The sticks that smell where you light them.
Incense.
Yeah, the
No,
joss
no,
sticks.
yeah. Oh,
I know
okay.
what you
Anyway,
mean. I used to have
yeah.
them and then
They're like
they're
like a
everywhere.
Chinese kind of thing. Chinese like smelly things. Anyway,
Are you sure
Yeah.
it's not incense?
no incense you don't
Incense,
light it, do
yeah.
you?
Yeah,
Incense you
yeah,
don't.
you do.
Okay, it could be incense. I think
I
incense is what
think
my
it's
mum gets some fucking
incense.
like whatever it's called,
A long
fucking fancy
stick, and you
things.
stand it on something and light it, and it burns down.
Yeah, okay, incense.
Yeah.
See,
Okay.
this is like on Saturday where I really, really made a fool of myself when I said duck was fancy. And do you know Liz, who's quite a posh human being, isn't she? Yeah, she just looked at me like a peasant. I was like, yeah, so, like, because basically, like, okay, this is the conversation. What do you get from a meal deal? Of your Tesco? Like, I
Me,
said,
I have
I
yeah,
to
I
know.
was
think
just,
the
I was just genuine.
question,
That was the question. Yeah, it's like, what do you get from a meal deal? Because I said I get the duck and hoisin wrap, and she went quite basic. And I'm like, it's fucking duck. It's like £7 a fillet, that.
I'm with you. I think out of the meal deal selection, the duck is the fancier one,
She called me a
rather
basic
than the
bitch.
ham and cheese.
Yeah, yeah.
oh right, I don't know what the Tesco meal deals are.
Okay, so you've got things like a duck and hoisin wrap. You've got some like barbecue or sweet chili because I don't like mayo. So anything's got fucking mayo and it can fuck off.
Healthy, I don't think there's
Well,
any
I've not
meal
had
deal
this.
for
The
me.
only meal deal I'll be getting is maybe if I'm going on a plane, it's an emergency and I'm in boot, I'll
Ah,
get a meal deal.
I can, I can, right, I can do the sushi. I don't mind the sushi meal
Oh
deals.
no, not the ready-made. It's like all hard because it's just been there.
I know, but you're something right. Sometimes, yeah. Like, look, probably the worst person to talk to about food.
Yeah,
Oh,
me
I know,
Like,
too.
we
yeah,
learned
Don't have a
this.
yeah,
conversation with me and Ali about food because
yeah.
I know,
I'm just gonna
that
I
was
get
just,
hard work, that.
I know.
be
It's just
hard.
like some, yeah. I just don't care. Do you know what I mean? It's
No.
like don't get me wrong, I like the efficiency
I
of
you
food.
two were okay in prep.
I've always been weird with food. I'll be honest. Like I've never been a foodie. I've definitely been. I was always a fussy kid with food. Like it was chicken, turkey dinosaurs, and like smiley faces. Like that's all I did. Like any kind of colour, fuck that. And
Oh,
then as I've got
yeah.
older, it's been a little bit different. But yeah, I've always it doesn't bother me. Like I've never been somewhere like I need to eat this or I need to do this. Like we were speaking to Charlotte about this in regard to like she was like looking forward to things post show and she was sending me all these like places and I was playing along. But then my head I was like reply back going, it looks nice, but they all look the fucking same. Do you know what I mean? It's like
But also, Ali, you do have some interesting combinations with food.
because I don't care. It's like it's just efficiency. It's like, but what I
What
couldn't
do
get my head
you
around. So
have?
people give me shit right about putting banana in rice.
No,
Okay,
that's
No.
gorgeous.
thank you.
I
I'm
had
gonna go
this
and
the
do
other
this.
day. I literally had this. I sent it to my friends and it was laughed off
But
so
I
badly.
can't get my head around, Kelsey, is people like sweet stuff in rice. A banana is sweet.
It's perfect. And peanut
I
butter as
don't like sweet
well.
stuff in rice.
Peanut butter, chicken, banana,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
baby rice. Yeah, that's perfect.
I
So
will
I
also
don't
accept the
like
fact
any savory food that tastes sweet.
Right.
So I like,
This is why we
you don't like
can't
any
compare.
savory food that tastes sweet.
Every
oh,
single
I like
person.
potato, but I
Yeah, okay,
don't like
okay,
sweet potato.
okay. Do you like pancakes?
I don't, okay, that's slightly different because when
Not
it's
the
cooked up, it
American
tastes
ones.
sweet.
American ones are
But I
disgusting.
couldn't have
They're thick.
bacon and stuff on them.
Oh, you couldn't. Okay, so it's like that. That was my
Pancakes for
kind of
me
big
is
gotcha.
no,
No.
pancakes for me have to be sweet. So when people say, "Oh, let's put bacon, this, and the other on pancakes," no, no. If you want to have that, you put it in an omelette because that doesn't taste sweet. But I like onions, hate caramelized onions. Like anything that is savory that tastes sweet, I just don't like.
See, I'm willing to
Everyone's so
accept though,
different.
is like me and Kelsey are weird, and
Yeah,
everybody else is
I think
right.
to be fair, Ali, I will be the first to admit, compared to what's seen as normal, me and you are very
Oh yeah,
straight
I deserve to be locked up.
Did
Like,
you put
with
ketchup
our
on a banana recently?
yes, I put ketchup on a banana. Get over yourself.
Would you
standard.
just
Banana
yeah?
sandwiches. Who doesn't have banana sandwiches? When I'm at Ace, I used to make him banana sandwiches. Like this,
Sorry, I just need to both into it. Amy, why are you called Leah?
Oh, because
we're using Leah's Zoom.
yeah,
Oh,
Leah's
right.
Zoom lets me go over, like we can go over an hour. And when we've done it on the other ones, we always talk for longer than we think. And then Kelsey's
I was
panicking,
only
trying to
40
get me
minutes.
off the screen. So I'm just,
Like,
Oh,
we
Leah.
dear.
need to go now, right? We're done. But
Leah is my
in
alter
like
ego.
normal Zoom, it's 40 minutes. That's why.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Stop being so cheap.
in
Stop being
like,
so cheap and pay for it.
I know, in I
Oh,
will
mine
maybe get
is
one
Leah.
maybe, which is Leah's.
Yeah, fair. You can fair.
When like this comes into any kind of topic, I suppose, when like talking about food, talking about what's point, like anything to do with like every different opinions, everybody's like, what is your opinion, Ali, on like comparing yourself to others? Like, is that a good thing? Does it have a place? Does it not have a place?
So I think it has. Okay, so like when you're comparing it from like an inspirational motivation standpoint, so it's like we all get into bodybuilding because we like the look of potentially how someone else looked. It's like nobody thought, right, I just want to look a certain way because you didn't have that imagery of what a certain way could be. But it's when you, and this is where like I think I'll definitely say it's potentially worse for females than men from what I've seen. Like girls compare a little bit more than men. Don't say men don't do it because I think they still do. But it's when you're starting to talk down about yourself when you're talking about another person like someone else is better than you. It's like I think when it comes to like physique, we're going to compare this like to like the physique world. It's like genetics are going to play a massive role, and I think we all need to accept that. Okay, right? When it comes to turning pro, and if anyone listens to this who wants to turn pro, most people know they're going to turn pro by the age of fucking 8 or 12. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've been fucking very athletic at school. You've been one of these people who are just very good at things. There's not many people who get to 16 and have never really played any sport and just took up bodybuilding and just got jacked. It's like that there's such a genetic component to this. So again, when you're comparing to someone else and how they look, it can be very, very detrimental. And you can actually then start to fall out of love with what you originally got in for, and then start to chase something that's actually not possible. But in regards to like, because I use JP, for example, Jordan Peters, like I look what he does and go, okay, can I do 50% of that? So if I do 50% of that, I must be quite strong. Like when you're comparing people, or sometimes I watch how people execute exercise, and I might use that as like inspiration for me potentially give myself some cues. So like I'm taking deadlifts out of my plan at the moment because there's just something not right. So I'm trying to think of other ways in which I can manipulate things into the plan. Like Instagram's great from an idea perspective of gathering information and comparing what you could do in within your own training or within anything like food ideas, etc. But when you're trying to compare your life to another person's life, because when we talk about Instagram, it's just a fucking highlight reel, isn't it? Let's be honest, on prep, right, I don't put a shit photo up. Any photo that was good light when my arse had lines in it, that went on. Anyone where it was a little bit saggy didn't go on, right? And there was enough saggy ones. Cal took too many. But like this, Cal was like the photographer, and to her, when Charles come along, she then took over photography as well because she had a better camera. But yeah, that's my opinion on comparing. Like comparing is only a problem when it becomes a problem in regards to it starts to make you feel worse about yourself. And then I think you potentially need to start evaluating what you're doing.
Yeah, and why is that making you feel bad about yourself? Like, what is
Yeah.
it that it's highlighting for you where you don't feel enough? So I think, like you say, if you can compare yourself, not necessarily compare yourself to someone, but use somebody as inspiration. So somebody is doing something that you want to do. What can you take from that? What can you learn from that
Mhm.
to actually better yourself? Then I think it can be quite a positive thing. But if you are
But
sitting,
also, sorry, just to interrupt there, but like competition's good.
mm,
Okay, so if you're comparing yourself because you want to beat someone, maybe not in a subject of sport, so let's take it out of a subject of sport like bodybuilding, we're talking about, say, maybe running, and you know if you compare yourself to, I don't know, a contestant A, and they're running at this time, so you know you need to beat that time, so it makes you train harder to beat. I don't see that as a negative,
No,
but
I
I
think to
think,
translate it means basically that it's a bad thing if it's making you feel negative, and it's a good thing to
yeah,
compare if it's
yeah.
motivating you to actually strive for
mhm.
better and a better version of yourself. So there's kind of like the answer being how you're perceiving that comparison.
Yeah, and but that's life though, isn't it, in regards to like how you perceive everything, because everyone has two options. In the
Mm,
majority of cases, it's like there's always when you're faced with a scenario, you can either look at it one way or another way. And a
Yeah.
lot of people will always go for the easier route, which is to potentially blame other people. But
hmm
when people actually sit back and reflect, like there's always definitely something that as we as an individual could have done to potentially prevent that.
mm.
But that's hard. Like at the end of the day, it's hard. Like life, like I think that this is one of my favorite things. Like life is hard and just get over it. Do you know what I mean? Like life isn't easy. It's a very,
That
very
makes
hard.
it exciting though.
Yeah,
That's like
it's
would
I
be a bit
think
boring if it was just a little like
but that's what I
cruise.
like about opinions, okay? If everyone fucking agreed, right, life would be shit.
Yeah.
And I love when people have polarizing views, and I love when people get really, really agitated at someone else's point of view, because obviously they're passionate about reasons why. So they've got something about them where it's like they don't really agree with it. And like you can talk about any subject like that when it comes to like people being vegans, and I think it can be taken too far. So I don't think people being vegan should go into the middle of Tesco and stop other people from buying meat. I think that's
Mm,
fucking ridiculous. By all means, though, if we had a debate and someone was trying to tell me that being a vegan was healthy, but they were talking from a passionate point of view and they were trying to give me their reasons why, and then I had disagreements with that. That's okay because we can disagree, but we can still be friends.
yeah.
Yeah. And
But
everyone can do what they want to do without putting it on other people as well.
yeah, I think people struggle with that though, Kelsey. I think people struggle with the fact that people can disagree about things but still get on.
I
Mhm.
love that though. I love hearing other opinions. I actually
Mhm.
do appreciate that everybody's got their own perspectives, opinions, beliefs, views, but that's fine. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Like
that's
my sister's really
okay.
religious.
You have
Makes
your
things more
view.
interesting.
Mhm.
It makes things way more interesting. Imagine what would we even talk about if we didn't agree? If we all agreed on everything, it would be so
Mm.
boring.
Well, it's like I said, like my sister's religious, right? I'm not. So I love taking the piss out of her. Do you know what I mean? And but my sister's like even more scouse than me, and she will fucking give it back. Like she's got like
Yeah.
a fucking sharp tongue. But
Mhm.
it's fun, and she knows I don't mean it what I say. She knows I'm only teasing, but we've both got two polar opposites where she does believe in a God and I don't.
Yeah. And it's crazy when that happens within a family. I know that for myself because,
Yeah,
again, half of my family are religious, half of my family aren't. And again, we all still love each other, but we just accept that this is what some people believe and this is what the
do you,
others
do you know the
believe.
cool thing about that? So half of your family's right and half your family's wrong. How boss is that?
Right or wrong though, is there?
Do you know what I mean? No,
Just
it's like, but nobody will find out. Like this is the beauty of it. No one's
But
going to
yeah,
know.
nobody will know.
But some,
You
but
know,
there
I
is a right
believe
and
what I
wrong.
believe, but they can believe what they believe. I'm
Okay.
right. No one took.
Yeah, I can ask you this question because Charles asked me this question. Um, there was a film where you get a superpower for 5 minutes. Can't remember
Yes.
what it's called. What would your superpower be? And mine trumps all
oh,
of yours.
um to read minds or be invisible.
To be invisible, okay.
No, I don't know. It depends.
Uh,
Like to oh
no,
no,
you could
to be
choose
to
one for
be
5 minutes.
to what's it called? Like transport
Transform.
itself.
Or teleport, okay.
Teleport,
Teleport,
that's the
yeah,
one.
that's what
Because
I
you
was
could
thinking.
just go anywhere, be like, oh, I'm just gonna just go to the moon and come back, right?
Have you only got the power for
Only
5 minutes?
go for 5 minutes.
Oh, I wouldn't want to read minds. Um,
Don't tell your man.
Yeah.
yeah, because I don't know.
To find out what happens when you die.
That's not a superpower,
It
really.
is. What's that can be whatever it wants. So to
Yeah,
find out what
okay.
happens, to find out what happens at the end, because if you knew what happened at the end, if there was a God, for example, and there was heaven, you'd be a fucking saint. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
do
would
you know
do
what?
everything.
Yeah,
I
you're
was
really
asked,
right.
I asked somebody recently if you could look into your future, say 10 years, would you?
No,
No, I wouldn't either.
no, because I think it would make me make it wouldn't make me make decisions that I'd want to make.
Yeah.
No. And we've had
'Cause
this conversation, I think, on another podcast where we've talked about if you could go back and change, I don't know, a really bad thing that's happened in your life, but it would also change the plethora of events that happened after. A lot of people actually say no because they
yeah,
wouldn't that.
that's from More Gordon.
Yes, it was. We were
That
talking about it, I
yeah,
remember at some point.
yeah, and
Mhm.
again, I mean, I used myself as an example for this before. I mean, and you both know the story of how I
Mhm.
got into bodybuilding anyway. But that period of my life, my uncle dying 2 days before I was 30, that whole situation, everything that came from that, which was really stressful, was just not a pleasant experience. But actually, had that not happened, I probably wouldn't, well, I definitely wouldn't be sitting here with you two. Because
No.
would I have ever, maybe I would have, maybe I wouldn't have eventually got into bodybuilding, but I knew at that point I needed focus.
Yeah.
And then one thing led to another. So if I took that away, I would probably still be out partying all the time, doing things that I probably shouldn't have been doing. So, you know, would I give anything to have my uncle still here? Yes, of course. Would I change what has happened? No.
So many twists and turns that could change. So yeah,
Yeah.
hard to change.
I
No.
don't, so I'm really, really happy where I am now. Like really happy, but I don't know the answer to that question.
You mean you wouldn't
I don't know.
necessarily
I don't know.
not change?
Because like the Oscar Young said this statement once when I was taking him home and he said you are where you are when you are where you're supposed to be.
Mhm.
Mm.
So and I love it. But there's certain things I wish I could have done differently, most definitely, yes.
But
Mm.
then you wouldn't have learned from that, and then you might
I
not have
know, and this is
known
like
that you never
this is
look
what I talk
back
about
and
my
think
therapist
that you
with.
could have done it differently because you
Is
never
Yeah,
that
know.
why
yeah.
you're on the fence about that question?
Yeah, this is what I talk about my therapist too. It's like like the things that happened previously and things. It's like I sometimes like question
Mm.
why didn't I handle things how I'd handle now? And obviously it's because I've learned from it and I know what to do. But it's still something I battle with myself.
Yeah.
So that's so like the I know the obvious answer is I would obviously keep everything how it is because where I am now is happy. But being too honest, that's the thing that I battle with is
Yeah.
like just like that. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?
So I think actually the when Mo Gawdat was talking about that because it's about the what's his book called?
His son dies, doesn't he? So it was
Yeah, that
about
was
that.
It's just the happy smile guy. The book he's wrote the book
All
called.
for
Yeah.
Happy. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's the one. Thank you for that. But it wasn't actually about how you deal with it. So obviously what
Hmm.
you're saying is I wish I'd managed things in a
Hmm.
different way at that point. But what he's talking about is the actual whatever the situation was. So whether that's somebody dying
Oh,
or whatever that may be, when he speaks to people, they will say, I just wish that hadn't happened.
Hmm.
But then when he talks to them about it and he says, okay, so if that one thing hadn't happened, and if you could go back in time and change that one incident, but anything that you've learned, anyone you've met,
Hmm.
any changes that have come about from that one thing happening would be erased from your life. Would you take back the actual thing that happened? So
That
not
explains
necessarily,
the whole thing that I was trying to, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
it's not about how you've managed it, but it's about the actual incident, scenario, whatever that may be. Would you, if you
Would you
could,
erase it and then it would also erase everything else that's happened
yeah.
thereafter if related to that particular event
Hmm.
in any way?
Is that
And
the
then, of
question? Is
course,
that you asked me a question, or is it just are you just explaining it?
I was
Uh,
just explaining it, but
Oh,
you
suppose I
I
was
don't
asking
know.
it before, but I hadn't explained it well enough.
I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
interesting.
It's
Hmm.
hard.
I'm so coming to your house to talk to you about that.
Okay, I don't know because it was like it didn't affect me per se.
Yeah.
So it's like would you have want that person or people should say have to gone through that thing if it could have been
Mm,
avoided? I don't
yeah.
know because for me to say yes to that, someone has had to go through a bit of shit.
Mm.
So it's like I feel like it's quite unethical for me to say yeah, I'd write someone
I feel
for
like
the
it's a
shit.
question you should
But
ask that person. Explain that to that person and ask
yeah.
them that question.
That's because you're
Mm.
thinking though of like other people's feelings and thoughts,
Hmm.
and of course that's like thoughtful because you're not just thinking of yourself, but then think
So,
like, yeah,
so like the black and white answer in regards to like I am very, very happy where I am now. Does that mean that person had to go through that thing or people had to go through them things for me to get to where I am now? Yes. But would I actually want them to go through that again? I don't know.
no, of
No,
course.
you wouldn't. Nobody would want anybody to go through, hopefully not really
But that's what you
horrific
say. But
things.
that's what you're saying, though, isn't it?
No, it's saying if you could, it's not saying would you want them to go through that again, but it's just getting people to look at it from the perspective of if if that didn't happen,
Hmm.
and that person, so not you, that person,
Hmm.
if if they took away whatever that instant was and say anyone they'd met, anything they'd learned, anything good that had come from it, from those experiences were wiped out from their life, would they remove that from their life?
Would you go back in time and erase it if possible? That's what I mean.
That's what you need to ask them.
Mm.
If
It's a
it's
good.
not too sensitive.
It's a good question. It is a really, really good question. And I think it's a good question because it makes people because this is what I mean about just sit back and reflect and challenge me. So you're obviously challenging what I think. And
Yeah.
it's nice. It's nice to be challenged because I said we can all get caught up in, like we can all get caught up in like the Instagram world and the TikTok world, can't we? But it's nice that you challenge just your own general thoughts. And this
Yeah.
is why, like, I think for people like myself who, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me in regards. I know they get told I have anxiety. So because I'm an overthinker, my therapist said, you do know that's a form of anxiety. Didn't know that, so learned something, which is quite cool.
Mhm.
But like, I've got nothing wrong with me. I've never really been through anything specifically traumatic. But like I do like the idea of just finding stuff out. But as I said, though, there's no problem. I don't think people should necessarily go to someone.
Yeah,
Yeah, find the
absolutely.
problems that aren't there, maybe.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Or like if you believe you've got a problem, then you'll make a problem potentially,
But
especially if it's in your head.
it's also this because no someone's like just buried it, and it's like it's not reared its ugly head, but they're living a really, really nice life. Why dig it up?
Mm.
Like sometimes, like ignorance is not bliss when it comes to health. Okay, so if you've got something wrong, you don't not go to the doctors. But sometimes ignorance is bliss. Like I think it's quite nice to be ignorant and blissful what else happens in the world because what happens in the rest of the world is fucking horrible.
Mm.
And if
And
you
if you
start to
did
worry
look at
about,
that, it would ruin your
oh,
own.
you wouldn't be able to be happy,
You
would you?
wouldn't be happy at all. No, it
No.
would ruin your own mindset. And I think like with your mindset, with anything, it is literally about
Mhm.
how you look at the world and how you look at yourself, how you
Yeah.
look at others. And if you're literally just absorbing all the time like that negative energy, it's going to drain you
Excuse
that
me.
much that then eventually you're going to start to kind of
Hmm.
be affected by that negativity as well. But you got
Yeah.
to have that mental block of being able to be empathetic and understand and accept, okay, that's what's going on, but you need to have your kind of defense to not allow that to come in too much, unless you allow it to come in if it's like those close to you, obviously that's important.
But I think, Joe, like when you talk about things like that, Kelsey, it's like everyone who moans about the fucking life in the UK needs to get a grip. Do you mean like, because
We're
like,
so fortunate.
oh, it's okay, but you know, when people moan about being on prep, I want to get them a fucking slap around the face.
Oh,
because like you're choosing to eat less food. Do you know, like that's what you're doing. You're
Yeah.
choosing to eat less food. You're also choosing to do more output.
or people who are doing prep for the wrong reasons. I
Yeah,
do not, yeah, do not
I, sp
vibe with that.
I was speaking to Ant about this and own the gym. Andrew owns EP, obviously. Like,
Mm.
and we were talking about like sort of like the younger generation and how potentially would they do if Instagram wasn't there? Because right, prep is stupid to put yourself through if you do not enjoy it. It is
Yeah.
ridiculously stupid because you starve yourself, and if you're assisted, you take drugs, a lot more drugs that you shouldn't be taking. You lose contact with the world. You're so tunnel vision. And I think this is one of the challenges that I tried to set myself for the last prep I do is like to try and incorporate life as much as possible. And that's why Cal was really good for me.
Yeah.
But I also like to think that I shown Cal how you can be in prep as well. Because like I've done it a few times now, so I've worn the t-shirts a few times. So it's like I think he learns a little bit in regards to like you don't need to be so fucking locked in and everything needs to be fucking on the point. But anyway, by the by, but it's like when people moan about prep, it's like oh, fucking a session of life, or just don't do it, right? Go
Why
round
are
to
you
Mackey's,
prepping?
have a fucking burger. Do you know what I mean? It's
And
like
then
Mac.
I rocked up to your house and you were like, rocked up to your flat and you were like, oh my God, it's late at night. How do you have this much
Oh,
energy in
yeah,
prep?
but this is what we talk about. Like you've got Labrador energy in it. It's like it just unsporadically energy bursts for no reason at all. Yeah, but you, to be fair, you probably only had that much energy, right? Because you've seen a big boat go outside my flat.
Oh,
Oh,
and
I
she
did.
didn't know there was a canal.
Yeah.
I remember.
Like to be fair, like that flat was like don't get me wrong, the
Oh,
neighbours were a fucking pain in the arse. Oh
that
mate, but
balcony.
oh no mate, but it just wasn't worth it. Like I'm not being funny. I felt like I was the youngest there by a fucking mile, and I'm not young.
I
And
mean, Cal
like
was the youngest there.
yeah, mate, but it's funny, like Carl wasn't supposed to be living there by the way. So like when I got the flat, I can remember this day. I was like, okay, it's okay, my friend lives there as well. And obviously like I was like the lead tenant, and
Yeah.
the landlord said no, even though
So
it was
what
a
happened
two
when
bed
the
flat.
landlord came round?
It would have to give us notice.
Ah, no, but I mean, did the landlord ever just come round and
No,
Cal was there?
the estate agents come round and Cal had to, the first time estate agents come around, Cal moved out for a day. But then it's like I was in my head, I was like, what are you gonna do? It's like rent's getting paid on time all the time. What? But the thing that annoyed me, it was a two-bed flat. But it's as
Mm.
soon as he found out it was two lads. So I don't know if it was like an older man who lived there or someone who's got maybe very unopen-minded views. And I don't think he wanted
Little
two
did he
lads.
know it was two people with the most like beautiful brains.
I won't say Carl's got a beautiful brain. I won't give him that much credit yet. He's getting there. He's getting there.
Um,
I can still
no,
give him some shit.
it was always like I mean, to hear you guys speak is always really nice.
I can still I can remember this one conversation. So we went for a walk. It must have been no like late afternoon, but we went for a walk around the thing, and we were just talking. Then we talked about like the what mindset a pro has compared to what mindset just like an avid bodybuilder has. Have I told you this one before about flipping a coin?
No,
Not
Okay,
more.
cool. So people who really, really aspire to be a pro and they'll give everything, you flip a coin and 50, if it lands on heads, you get your pro card. If it lands on tails, you die. People who are that dedicated to become pro will flip the coin. Most people won't. Because most pros who want to take it that level are willing to sacrifice everything to achieve that. And we had this conversation, we walked around, Cal had to go for another water to clear his head. Because
would either of you have flipped the coin?
pardon?
Would either of you have
No,
flipped the
fuck
coin?
that. Fuck that, no. Stupid. But when I say it's stupid for me because
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it wouldn't mean that much to me. Like for most bodybuilders and most pro bodybuilders, right, it's not going to pay your bills.
yeah.
But for some people, it's everything to them, and that's okay as well.
Yeah,
Actually,
and I
that
feel
is
again
okay.
like this is something where you say, oh, it's stupid or it's not stupid, but like if someone is actually that much invested and that's really, really all they want in their life, have at it. Just that dedication
100%.
to it
Flip the
and
Crack
coin.
on.
just have
Mhm.
So
at it if you want.
what I
But
hate
I
about the
think
gem
people
pot,
just judge and then
yeah,
everybody's like, oh, you shouldn't be that invested or you should be that invested. Well, let everyone do what they want to do. And if that's what they want to do, if they want to be pro or they don't want to be pro, that's their choice.
Yeah,
I think what I don't like about like the general population looking into the bodybuilding world, they all think it's not worth it. But the bodies would also think, you go and get them doing 5 lines of coke on the weekend and getting pissed. That's not worth it either.
completely worth it for me as an individual.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Completely. It's changed my life in so many ways and only for the better,
Yeah,
if I'm completely honest.
but this is where again, like, no, people are just not open-minded, and as
Mm,
Kelsey rightly said before, just not letting people crack on with the shit that they want to
yeah,
do. It's
yeah,
like, so for example, I can't get my head around fucking running a marathon. I don't know why the fuck you'd want to do it. It sounds like absolute hell. And I used to run, right? And I hated it when I used to be quite good at it as well. But people love it. Like there's
yeah,
like I said, there was this woman and she done something. She done an ultra marathon or she done something where she ran a marathon after a marathon after a marathon whilst breastfeeding. And like what I respect about that, even though I think it's from a health perspective very silly, is that's fucking that's psychotically dedicated. And I
yeah, it is.
love the way people when because like we can talk about sport in this in so many ways. Like you always get people who push the needle. But to push the needle, you've got to put yourself in a position that nobody else has been in before. And that's
Yeah,
something that not a lot of people can do. And I think when people then start going, well, that was silly. Why is she doing that? That's unhealthy. It's like, you're only saying that because you probably couldn't do it. You can't fathom out how a brain can function like that.
yeah.
And some people can.
That's actually incredible that someone did that.
I
Yeah.
imagine it's the same as prep. It's the same mindset of you're giving it you everything. You're literally like making every single kind of bit of yourself that you've got and giving it to the process. Like it must feel the same as prep because that's the reward side of it, isn't it? Like you know that you're giving your everything, and that's what feels like that you're achieving something. So it
Sure.
must be a similar. I imagine
Rest,
that's
Yeah.
what she's getting from it is kind of like what we would get from like you're pushing yourself to the limit, you're getting that back, like knowing how much that you're putting into it for your
Ooh.
own personal kind of like
Do you talk about controversial topics on this?
talk about
what
whatever you want.
Okay, cool. What do you think of the new category for females?
this is so random. So we were having a conversation, I've talked to a lot of people about this.
Okay.
Um, I competed in 2015, didn't I? And it's
Yeah.
literally bringing it back to how it was when I first competed, and I remember that. And I feel like bikini has moved along
Hmm.
like a lot. I love that they've brought it back. I'm not sure the fact that they're putting the pros all in the same pool. However, I do think that if the pros all go in the same pool, the pros that have gone pro from this new class is kind of like at the bottom then of they're not going to win a class for a while, let's say. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to be like they'll just go and win the pro show now. So they're still, they're at a disadvantage if anything, because they're just not going to have the muscle for a longer time.
I think it will open it up to people who do want to go into bodybuilding. I think it will open it up to people who, at this point, don't want to progress or don't want to do certain things. I think it will open up that avenue for them as well.
Okay, fair enough.
How about you?
Can't really comment. I've got, I can't really compete in this category, but I do
We're
think,
gonna do it next time.
Compete.
honestly, I've got better glutes than both of you, so be quiet. I think, so I do think the female bodybuilding needs to scale back a little bit because, as Kev said before, like bikini sort of translated to figure a little bit in regards to like the muscle mass and the leanness that needs to come in. Figures going into physique, physique going into body, like it's all escalated. At the end of the day, we want to see freaks, don't we? And the thing is, with bodybuilding become more popular now, you can get more genetic freaks because it's interesting and there's a fair bit of money to be made in it, blah, 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 taking more drugs. But the thing from a female aspect of things, I think the drug exposure that has been escalated a lot over the last, say, 10 years, it's will people start to regret it because you've got a lot of young girls doing it now. And it's like for lads, we can argue it's not as detrimental because a lot of things that a lad does can be reversible, but a lot of things a female can go through can't be. So I
I
think it
agree.
might be good in a regard of good in the sense of it might pull people back a little bit, from a health perspective. I just didn't like the way the criteria was worded when I read it. Like you need to be softer. And when I think of bodybuilding, I think you bring the leanest and most muscular package that you can bring, whatever category you're doing. So I think the terminology of the like the category descriptions, I think should have been changed in regards to we're looking for this, but we're not looking for you to be, we're not looking for striated glute, but we're looking for a developed glute. It felt like a very wishy-washy description. And I think as
That's
time
with a
goes
pinch
on,
of salt,
yeah,
though, because all of the criteria, if you read it, if you read NFM,
yeah,
PCA, NPC, if you actually read the criteria, all of the bikini is soft, no
yeah.
defined muscle. And it's not obviously what they're placing. So I
Do you
don't
know
think
what?
what you read in that is
Yeah, true.
necessarily what they're
It's a very good point.
placing.
I think what will be interesting is seeing what they reward, because everyone's gonna when a category is so because it's hard enough judging female bikini, female what's it called now actually? What's this one called? Is it fitness? Is
Oh,
that what's
fitness one.
called? Is
Yeah,
that what's called?
fitness
Yeah, it's like
one.
I think it's going to be when there's not such a black and white category of something of this is what we're looking for. It's so open for interpretation. You're going to get so many different kind of physiques. It'd be interesting to see which road they go down. Like I still think you need muscle mass. I think everyone
Yeah, of
needs
course.
muscle
I think
mass.
people are going like down a road of, oh, you don't even need muscle now.
Yeah.
Be surprised, like girls like need so much time to grow, even the
hmm
amount of muscle for that class. And it's a shame when people comment and say, oh yeah, it's not even like that much muscle.
hmm
But unless you are actually assisted or genetically gifted, building muscle takes years and years and years.
It takes years and years, even if you're assisted. Because in order to put on a good amount of tissue,
That's right.
especially when you're getting older as well. Like when you're getting older, those like 5 kilos of tissues or 5 kilos, let's pick that to be an ambitious, say 2 or 3 kilos of
I
tissues,
feel it.
a lot
Jesus
of tissue.
Christ.
Do
You
you know what I
talk
mean?
about
Yeah.
women.
No, I actually translated to men then, but like if a girl can put on a good amount of stage weight, it's a good graft, and I do think you need more than a 6 month off season to be able to do that. But as I said, it'd be an interesting thing. It was like the way the NPC announced it. It just got a lot of positives and negatives. It really split people.
Mm.
So I'm intrigued to see how it goes.
Yeah, I feel like it did bring a lot of like arguments and all
It's
sorts of
cool.
social
I don't
media.
mind that though, Joe. Like when people have separate, it's when people get so like people need to realize like nobody gives a shit. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not that important, right? Okay. So have your point of view, but don't get so emotional about it. Like it's like a life and death conversation. Do you know what I mean? It's like you should get no like for example, this is going to be really off topic here, but I'll bring it back onto
No,
it.
it's not
So for
because I feel like
example,
we're talking about opinions.
More than happy to
oh
be off
no,
topic.
what I'm talking about that was off topic. So for example, say my mum is on a ventilator, and then me and my sister are having a conversation if should she live or shouldn't she live. We can get passionate about that. Okay, that is someone that is like important to both of us.
Yeah.
Okay, but in regards to a category or who wins a bodybuilding competition, like really, it's like because what you call it like Derek Lumford won on the weekend, and it was like between him and Samson, and people going off and like, it's like right. Do you think But right, do you think the judges read your fucking opinion for a start? They don't really. Do you think Derek or Samson actually give a shit about your opinions? No, they're going to go back to the drawing board and work out what went well, what didn't went well. Yeah, it's like Sam Sulek. He won his pro card, didn't he? And the amount of people that are giving him shit is like, most of them haven't even stepped on stage. Most of them are fat fucks anyway. And it's like,
Sorely. I know
yeah,
they all looked amazing. Like there's arguments for everybody that's up
yeah,
there. It's just
yeah.
such a shame that people can't just have their
PCA,
opinion.
I think PCA needs to do something in regards, although with just keep putting things up on social media. I think they need to, I was speaking to someone else about this, I think they need to turn the comments off.
Yeah,
Mm.
Because
potentially.
yeah, because I understand it gets engagement, I understand it, but people are fucking nasty. And look,
Yeah.
I also understand, Joe, if you step up on stage just there to be judged, like so nobody can get away from that. You are getting judged on how you look. So if you step on stage, please be prepared. But I do think some people just take it a little bit too far. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I
I,
hate that.
I would agree with you on that actually.
Yeah.
I think I think some people, especially if it's people who again, don't really know much about bodybuilding as well, and it just some of the things that are said about people.
It's just mean, isn't it? Like at the end of the day, it's like it's mean. And the thing I hate about it, and I say this all the time, is like no, there's no consequence to it.
Yeah.
So like I do believe like if you say something, you should be willing to pay the consequence, whether that be so like I use this like an analogy. I use a lot of analogies, don't I? Like Joe, back in the day when I was like going to school, you got bullied to your face. So a
Yeah.
bully would say something to your face, and if the person had enough balls, they'd hit him back.
Yeah.
Okay. But now it's so easy just to type something.
Yeah.
It's the
And
And
new
I think people
generation.
don't
That's what I was going to
always
say.
what, sorry, Cal, say that again.
It's like the new generations who are growing up now as children with phones and social media, like we obviously didn't grow up, we weren't children with
Yeah,
phones,
yeah.
we didn't have phones, we didn't have like, we interacted face to face, and that was the only form of interaction that we had as children.
Hmm.
So we said things that we knew was going to have a consequence at the time, whereas now that's how people are brought up
Hmm.
to know that they can say things and they can type it over a computer or a phone, and that doesn't have a direct immediate consequence. So that's how
Hmm.
they've been brought up. And I think me and Ace have been having this conversation because he obviously is similar. He's brought up
Hmm.
where there was no phones and he reacts if he's like pissed
Hmm.
off. But I think it's like hard for us to all understand that there are actually people now, younger generations, that don't understand that because that is not how their brains work.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I think
I
like,
also Sorry,
no, go
just to say, I think people need to sit back and actually understand the damage that some things that you say to people can actually have. And you don't always know what somebody else has gone through. So that comment that you make about somebody could make a significant impact on their life. I
yeah.
don't think people always realize to the extent that it can do damage.
It's one of these, isn't it? Because we understand that, like as we stated before, like other people's opinions are nobody else's business. But the issue is like what Kels just said then is like if I said something to you and we're all like imagine we all went for food and I said something about
Yeah.
one of your eyebrows because your eyebrows look shit both, yeah.
They
Do you know what I
move
mean?
all the time.
That's fucking like you can do the rock, can't you? That's
I
amazing.
can, yeah. My party trick.
But Joe, for
Oh
example, like I
God.
said so, and if I offended you, like your facial reaction, your initial, you could see if you've
Yeah.
caused some like discomfort for someone. And this is the thing, it's like you don't know as you said, you don't know how the other person's reacted. And as I said, I just feel like people just need to get a bit of a. I'm not going to say I'm a fan of physical violence because that sounds really, really bad, but like there was a saying that someone said, and I do believe in it, regards like everything stops at violence. So do you mean like if you have a disagreement with someone like words there, like once violence occurs, there's nothing that can happen past violence. You don't go back to using words. It's like
Yeah.
it's done and dusted. And I think that's how it was back when the day when we were a little bit younger, where it's like you might have to disagree with someone, you got a little bit physical, and then it was done and dusted, then you moved on. Whereas now we can just keep going on, keep going on, keep going on. And I do feel for people who are of that younger generation
You
because like
couldn't pay me enough to go back to school the way things are
oh
Because
now.
one
no.
day someone's going to come round and they're going to get a shot.
Oh,
Honestly,
I couldn't work in a
But they
school.
are, because
so
that's
I
how
go,
like things are nowadays. It's mad, but people
Yeah.
can't react. But if they could, that's what Ace obviously is like, because he's been brought up as well. Like, you say something, you mean it.
Yeah, yeah,
thing
yeah.
is, and now things are like obviously I work with um disadvantaged, let's say, young
Hmm.
people, and how brutal schools are. I spend time in schools. They are absolutely brutal. Like nothing like what when I was at school. Like you said, people said something, people had a fight, it was done. Now it is just not like that. And some of the things I hear and I think, is this even happening? Like, are kids actually doing these kind of things to kids? It's just not even
Like
scary.
my mum works in school, but I'm not going to speak out of things. I don't know how a school works, but
Yeah.
I do think potentially discipline needs to come back into schools because from what I gather, teachers can do fuck all. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're not allowed to say anything. They're not allowed to do anything. As soon as a teacher says something that's a little bit not politically correct, they get
Yeah.
hung, drawn, and quartered. And I think it's so unfair
I
because
hate
at
to
the
be a
end of the day,
teacher now.
yeah, oh, it must be horrendous because
Yeah.
like kids can say whatever the fuck they want, and because the kids they get away with it, and I don't necessarily think that's fair. I don't think necessarily agree with that. I think there should be some kind of disciplinary for whatever
Mm.
that may be, and then the kid says something, go back and they tell the parents. The parents come to the school, and it's like, but the teacher's got nothing to stand on. And look, by the way, all teachers aren't saints. But when I look back at me, I was a cunt to a couple of my teachers. I understand why they were fucking horrible to me because I was a twat. Do you know what I mean? And if I went back, I'd say I'm sorry because I was a dickhead. But I've turned out okay. But I do think that that's very, very hard in regards to like teachers can say nothing, but kids can say whatever they want to them, and kids then can say whatever they want to other people, and the teacher can do fuck all. I remember one of the teachers offered one of the students a fight in high school.
Who would?
Not happened because the kid shit himself. Not gonna lie, he was the teacher you didn't want to fight with in school.
God, that's
I
Oh,
how
like
it
that.
was though. I
it
was on the
was.
court at school.
What was that?
I was on report.
Oh yeah, like to be fair, I wasn't even that bad. Sure, I just had a bad year. Year nine, I just turned into a twat for some reason. Year seven and eight, I was a golden
I
child.
think I was on the report in primary school, actually, not in
Yeah.
secondary school. I was a teacher's pet. I was dead good in secondary school.
What I hate though is when people go about the teaching system, they go, it's like, well, nobody's learning because we don't teach actual things. I mean, and I understand, right? I do think like the way the education that we give kids could be a little bit more practical towards life, but that doesn't give right for kids to be dickheads.
Mm.
I mean, like kids should have learn respect, and I think that's something that's like there's no respect, there's no like respect for what you say.
Yeah,
Coming back into like the bodybuilding world, like again, like people have done things for reasons why they've done things. Like maybe they've
yeah,
stepped on stage and they don't look like everybody else. Maybe they did have about another £10 to lose. But is your comment really going to make a difference? Probably not. By all means, like have a comment. What I don't mind is like, for example, if like someone puts something on Instagram and us three had a discussion about it, because we're allowed to talk about it. But for us to directly say something to that individual for no reason at all that we know is potentially going to upset them, and we're
yeah.
saying it from a vicious perspective, there's no need for that.
Mm. And that again, I know we've touched on this on numerous podcasts, but when people do that, it's a projection of their own insecurities. And you,
Mm.
9 times out of 10, will find it somebody sat there who wishes they could get on stage.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It comes from a place of real insecurity from that person. Doesn't make it any nicer for the person who's having it said to them, but I think if you can come from the understanding of it is a projection of them, it's not about you. I suppose it's slightly different within the bodybuilding world because, like you say, we're getting on stage and know people are going to judge you, you know people are going to say things. I just think that's an important thing for people to try and remember that actually when
Mhm.
people are saying really negative things, it's usually about them.
Yeah.
And suppose before we finish, we've got lots of people going into or already in prep. If you could give one piece of advice for their prep, what would it be?
Okay, I'll go first. It's your decision. Don't let your decision affect others.
Mine would be enjoy the process.
Yeah,
I
I
love
would
it.
say literally only do that prep if
Mm.
you actually enjoy that process. If you're doing it for a trophy, don't even bother.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
Because it's not
And have
about
fun being
the
cold and
it's not
hungry
all.
while we're all eating food.
Oh
Yeah, but
my
it's
God,
one. These is like just because you're hungry, right, doesn't give you the right to be a cunt. Just because
no.
you're tired doesn't give you a right to be a cunt. I think people use it sometimes like, oh, I want prep. It's like nobody cares. It's like,
Everybody's got the right to their opinion, but if you actually think something that's like negative about someone and it's not really going to help them by telling them anything, like just
Yeah.
don't do it.
yeah. As I
And
said,
I
like it's like,
know,
go on.
know that actually on certain days in prep, you do feel slightly more irritable than others. And you need to manage that. It's not someone else's fault that you feel irritable that day.
Do you know what you can do? You can communicate.
Mm.
So you can go to people, look, I'm just a little bit on edge today. If I say something that doesn't sound right, I am sorry. So like you own the action of what you may do. Because we all know when we feel a little bit tired, we've had a bit of a shit sleep, you've been taking way too much Clen and you feel a little bit jittery, or you've been playing messing around with sort of Tren and you've had like night sweats and all this kind of thing. Like we've all done it, maybe not you two, but we've all had them times where like it just things haven't been how they thought, or you've missed a meal because life's happened. It's like I do think communication lacks on prep because you get so much more tired, so much more fatigued. And it's like people don't talk, people just don't say how they feel. I think communication lacks on life, and being honest. And again, just like giving an outline of how you may feel, so then at least you are voicing that you may be a little bit agitated, but you're taking responsibility of you and you make sure you say sorry.
Yeah. Fab. And I would like to get you back on again in the future, Ali, because I want to touch on all your sleep and stuff like that and
No,
more on
Yeah,
thank
like
you so much for coming
the
on. We're
education
like we
yeah,
and
haven't even touched the sides.
yeah, yeah. My sleep's boss now.
no, it is. But I think there's like people will benefit so much from like knowing about the things that you have implemented that
Hmm.
I know you have with your sleep and obviously what you guys do in terms of the training, the
Yeah, yeah,
education and all of that. So we'll arrange also a more structured one as well.
yeah. Cool. I'll love talk about that.
Yes, we will. And I'll pretend to do the
Yeah. Well,
I'll get it next
thank
time.
you both for letting me on. It's been a pleasure.
Oh no,
Yeah.
thank you for coming on.
Well,